Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the fire danger chart, pretty high here through the interior, especially this afternoon. Forecast for tomorrow, got some moisture coming across the Seward Peninsula, so improving it a little bit, but still carrying the high fire danger there. Improving up here to the northwest, that band of moisture will be shifting up across that way tomorrow. So drop it back to high instead of extreme, but still through the interior, especially through tomorrow. Areas of extreme fire danger anywhere through these areas. Also for the Copper River Basin, extreme fire danger also out. Not too bad here, southern Alaska, northeast Bristol Bay, about the same as yesterday, running in the high category. And mostly the Yukon Delta here seeing the extreme. Moving on to the satellite imagery from yesterday, long fetch of moisture here off the chart coming northwestward there, right across the southeast coast and into the North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula area, and then spreading right up into the interior. The hot afternoon temperatures, a little pretty convective there over the east side, and then some sunshine from the Yukon Delta, cloud Seward Peninsula, sunshine western North Slope Arctic coast, then some clouds, then more sunshine off to the east. Not too bad over the eastern Bering Sea for yesterday. And then out there to the west, another system with a lot more clouds and a little bit more in the way of rainfall farther to the west, and then some moisture trying to slide northeastward here into the Fox Islands. Today's imagery showing much better organized band of clouds there just south of Unalaska up to about the Alaska Peninsula, winding up pretty good, the low center south of the peninsula there. And then the frontal boundary right through here actually looks like it's kind of weakening as we go through the day. Moisture sliding northwestward here. Scattered showers, mostly cloudy skies over the south central Alaska area. Breaking out to some, actually looks like some sunshine this afternoon there along the southwest coast and roughly the Bethel area. Back on down to Togiak and Dillingham. And then hot weather again, highs into the upper 80s, into the Tanana Valley there around the greater Fairbanks area. Sunshine, pretty nice warm temperatures there on into the Yukon. And then we've got a band of clouds there, mostly over the central and southern southeast coast, which mostly is drifting off to the west and then turning up here to the northwest. And we'll see on the chart today kind of a trough along that boundary there, keeping it kind of foggy in the Kodiak area today. Maybe some isolated showers there. Mostly cloudy, variably to mostly cloudy here, south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, showers scattered around the area as well, especially along the east side of the western Alaska Range and a little bit up here to the north. Isolated thunderstorms starting to develop this afternoon, late here over toward the eastern interior as temperatures warmed into the 80s up in that area with nice, looks like some sunshine all the way down into the northern southeast coast. Then you get into the showers here with that surface high right along the coast there. Really not enough to shut the shower activity off over the southern areas. And then some scattered showers out over the southeast Bering Sea around the Pribilofs. And then this area of moisture here from this low center shifting up to the northwest, and that may expand a little bit more to the northwest tonight here and continue to go on off to the western Arctic coast tomorrow. And then most of the rainfall here along and southeast of the Alaska Peninsula with that 989 millibar low center there south of Sand Point, and the front staying to the south, but it'll all be shifting up to the northeast over the next day or actually a couple of days. Another band of moisture over the central Aleutians, mostly well west of Nikolsky and just right on the edge of Atka there. Then a break and then some more showers with another low farther out to the west. Tight gradient here on the Arctic coast, especially on the west side, with winds gusting as high as 50 miles an hour, close to 50 miles an hour at Point Lay. Otherwise, Atchison on over to about Cape Lisburne, seeing gusty winds as high as 22, 40 miles per hour, diminishing a little bit here as you head east, but lots of low clouds, low clouds, patchy areas of fog, and a few flurries, not so much on the flurries, just areas of fog there. And then for tonight, that's not going to change a whole lot. May lighten up a little bit there on the east side, staying windy here in the west with a trough here, actually a low center, right over the Seward Peninsula. It's going to keep the squeeze on the atmosphere here with that 1,031 millibar high just north of the Arctic coast there, actually covering the Arctic. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, scattered isolated thunderstorms this evening, becoming just scattered isolated showers on toward morning. And same pattern here, southeast flow, chance of showers, best chance of showers will be western Prince William Sound, down along the Kenai Peninsula, into Kodiak Island. It becomes a little bit more widespread, especially as this front begins to push northward. That'll start to circulate more moisture in, so late tonight, kind of going to a general rain condition with fog, especially down toward the southern part of the island. Trough off the coast here, coming northward into the Gulf of Alaska. Otherwise, variably cloudy, scattered isolated showers for the southeast coast. Out to the west, 999 millibar low. Southwest of Nunivak Island, light winds all through this area, not much of a gradient at all, right down to the peninsula. And pretty light winds for the Aleutians too. Looks like west or mostly westerlies or west-northwest. Westerly here, east of the trough, northwest, starting to pick up a little bit out to the west there. Showers, areas of low clouds, fog, rain, or drizzle possible anywhere here. The green shaded areas, a little bit of a breakthrough here, and then some more stuff farther out to the west. And then this moisture slipping on up to the north there brings a chance of rain, probably not making it all the way to Point Lay, but more so down toward Cape Lisburne, Point Hope, passing across Kivalina and the Noatak Valley tonight, and a band of showers extending down along that trough axis there, just about along the Kuskokwim Mountain areas there. Maybe a risk of a thunderstorm, pretty slight chance at that. Showers are better forecast there. And then for tomorrow, we've got this frontal boundary continues to come northward here, so rain periods of all day for Kodiak Island, fog along with it, lower flying conditions due to that, and another surge at trough in the Gulf of Alaska tonight, shifts up to the North Gulf Coast during the day tomorrow, so mostly cloudy, showers occasionally here for the, especially on the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula, of course, Resurrection Bay to Seward, on up to Whittier and Portage. Less of that over toward Valdez and Cordova. Just some scattered showers possible for Yakutat in across the northern panhandle. Mostly cloudy, isolated showers, more mist than hit here for the southeast coast. And that high up there over the Arctic nudging this front south of the Brooks Range tomorrow. So a little bit cooler conditions behind. And then some convection breaking out mostly along the eastern portion here on into Canada with showers, scattered thunderstorms, mostly into the Yukon and eastward with chance of showers, mostly cloudy skies across the southwest interior. Less of a chance here along the coast, but still mostly cloudy. Maybe some breaks there for White Mountain over to Nome, sun breaks, but the north side there staying pretty cloudy with a chance of showers as that moisture kind of shifts back around to the west, and then showers possible here from the Pribilof Islands with this low center right down to the eastern Aleutians, and improving back to the west, just a slight chance of some moisture there for Atka, but breezy conditions, but dry, maybe some clearing on out towards Shimmy and Attu. And then for tomorrow night, this front continues northward and weakens and left over as a trough, also pushing in toward the Panhandle. So we've got a weak trough, keeping it mostly cloudy with showers for the southeast coast in the forecast for Sunday. Same forecast for the North Gulf Coast, mostly cloudy skies, showers, pretty good chance of there from Cordova in across the Kenai Peninsula again, south side down into Kodiak Island, starting to scatter out in that area there, and mostly cloudy, scattered showers here across the southwest interior. Big cold upper level lows dropping down south of the Alaska Peninsula. Southeast wind flow aloft there, again pushing surges of moisture, so a little more continuous there on the east side of Kodiak, on up to the Kenai Peninsula, possibly slipping on up into western Prince William Sound. Chance of showers even for the Talkeetna Mountains, and again for the southwest interior. And a little more action now along this trough, the former frontal boundary. This dashed in as a trough on Sunday. Looks like a little more continuous showers, heavier showers, possible thunderstorms there anywhere along the trough axis from the 40-mile country back to the west, becoming more of a light rain, fog, drizzle pattern for the Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound area. to the Bering Strait back down across St. Lawrence Island. Staying breezy there for the Arctic coast, but losing those 40-knot winds that are in the forecast there for the west side tomorrow, coming down to, I believe, 30 knots for Sunday. And then lighter winds back onto the east, much lighter here south of Point Hope into the Chukchi Sea. I think just 15 knots there. Light variable winds over the eastern Bering Sea. That'll lead to considerable areas of low clouds, fog possible anywhere there. Optimistically drew some clearing in there for the Pribilofs. And also back to the west here, a little breezy there, west-northwesterlies for Adak and Atka. And the next storm just ready to move in to the western Aleutians and Bering Sea, but not until Sunday night on into Monday. And for temperatures this afternoon, quite warm again up over the eastern interior there, 87 degrees at 4 o'clock at Fairbanks, 85 at Delta, Gulkana up to 84 degrees, much cooler along the coast, 61 Cordova, 64 in Palmer, and 50s for the most part there at the Kenai Peninsula, 57 at Seward, Susitna Valley into the lower 70s there at Talkeetna, and for the Panhandle, much cooler, upper 40s to lower 50s with 48 at Wrangell and Petersburg, 60 degrees though at Skagway, Elfin Cove, 50. And on up into the Koyukuk Valley, nice 76 degrees this afternoon at Bettle, 72 Fort Yukon, 45 Anatuvik, but just up to 64, warmer than 60, or almost 20 degrees warmer than Anatuvik there over at Arctic Village with more sunshine, warmer air aloft. Upper 20s eastern Arctic coast, really chilly there with that northeast wind flow behind that front, and upper 30s or lower 30s to lower 40s on the west side. Kotzebue up to 51, 59 at Nome, 67 degrees McGrath this afternoon with mid-60s down the river valleys there, falling into the lower 50s out along the coast, just 42 at Savunga. About the same there at St. Paul and St. George, 45 on Alaska, upper 40s, lower 50s for the peninsula, and then mid-40s all the way out to Shemya. Lows for tonight, very mild here through the central interior, 55 to 60 actually, warmest here over the Tanana Valley. And then also mid-50s for the Susitna Valley. And Nome staying right around the 50-degree mark, just barely falling below it. Upper 40s to near 50 for the Panhandle. 40s everywhere else except the North Slope and Arctic coast into the 20s. Highs for tomorrow up that way, 30s. Staying coolest there along the coastline, probably upper 30s in toward Umiat and then into the mid-50s. Brooks Range warming into the 70s now. Cooler conditions into the interior. Could still approach 80 degrees there from about roughly Fairbanks on eastward, especially down toward Delta, Northway, and Tok. But definitely starting a cooling trend, and 60s south of the mountains to upper 50s or lower 50s along the coast. 50s for the Panhandle, 40s out west for the Aleutians and Bering Sea. Flying weather tomorrow, look for some IFR here locally along the North Gulf Coast up into western Prince William Sound. Arctic coast, pretty good chance of that also. And most of this IFR staying off the coastline, might sneak up into Kuskokwim Bay, but definitely more affecting the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians and Pribilofs. For tomorrow afternoon, this becomes more extensive here, more moisture coming northward. Right along the coast, quite a swath of IFR now from around Yakutat down across the east side of Kodiak Island, with VFR breaking out over the Panhandle and areas of marginal VFR possible over the interior, but the low stuff out here, again, mostly off the coast with some marginal VFR hugging the coastline here, and then also the lowest conditions will be north of the Aleutians. Flying weather or for the passes, Anatuvik both and Adigan, both VFR tomorrow. Lake Clark and Merrill, though, looking marginal at times, as well as rainy to start with, but may some moisture move out of there tomorrow afternoon, becoming VFR. Windy VFR, and Isabel, same forecast VFR. Mentasta VFR, possibly becoming marginal VFR as convection builds, chance of a thunderstorm. Tanita looking good, and Portage, marginal VFR for sure, with the IFR at least on the east side, maybe all the way across, but the lowest conditions will be on the eastern entrance. And for Chilkoot and White, VFR gradually becoming marginal. And for the freezing levels here, 12,000 feet, upper level ridge right along the northeast coast, actually northwest Canada, into the eastern interior, 10 to 12,000 feet, cooling back to about 8,000, then all the way down to 2,000, a cold pocket coming into the Aleutians there, and then another cold surge heading southeastward up there over the Northwest Territories. And for icing, look for icing possibilities here. Kodiak Island right up in across the Kenai Peninsula south side, western Prince William Sound. over toward the Alaska Range, but more widespread here for the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. And this batch of moisture is slowly moving northward there for the northwest areas from the western Brooks Range out to the western Arctic coast. And then along some, maybe some mixed icing here, possibly with some showers, otherwise icing free off to the east. Upper level wind flow chart showing southeasterly flow here. There's that big upper level ridge producing those 10 to 12,000 foot freezing levels, extends right up into the Arctic. And then southeast winds 70 knots around Kodiak, with that front gradually coming northward, weakening on Sunday. 9,000 feet, easterlies 5 to 15 eastern Arctic coast, but still up to 50 knots along and west of the west side of the coastline there. And 35 knotters come around, swing around to the west at 30 knots for the central Aleutians. Southeasterlies 20 to 25, Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak, much lighter over the interior as well as the Panhandle. 3,000 feet shaping up like this, about the same pattern. Winds still pretty strong, western Arctic coast there up to 50 knots, and then southeasterlies 10 to 20, southern Alaska lighter, Bristol Bay southwest 10, increased 25 to 30 out over the central Aleutians, turning northwest and then northerly, and the southeast coast southerlies coming up and over the top of that ridge axis, but only at about 10 to 20 knots. Turbulence wise, enough gradient here over the northern Panhandle to put some light to isolated moderate chop. Same thing for the coastal mountains there, Kodiak Island on up to southern Cook Inlet, back to the northwest there across the Alaska Range, occasional light turbulence. And then the heavier stuff will be where the strongest winds are in the western Arctic coast there, occasionally moderate, and maybe a little bit out over the central Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecast.
Hello again, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with the National Weather Service for another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. And joining us again talking about the augmented reality sandbox is Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. And he's actually talking about a project from AKwx, which is the experimental program to stimulate competitive research. A lot of acronyms, but some really fun stuff today, right, Eric?
You bet. We've got a learning tool that is a tool that's fun to use, and it really has a relevance to actually daily lives of anyone who goes outside and sees lumpy topography in Alaska. We've got a lot of mountains and such. You know, when I was younger and go on your first hike in the hills, say, you're given, maybe you're in the Boy Scouts or you get at the kiosk at the trailhead, a topographic map, a flat piece of paper with all these lines on it, bullseyes, long lines that curve back on themselves, say, perhaps things that look like this. A quadrangle or a topographic map. We've got here just to illustrate a couple of examples near Denali. Alaska has so much topography, so many mountains. And what are all these lines that we see? It can be tough to know what this means the first time you look at it. What we've got, all these lines represent lines of where the elevation of the topography goes through a certain level above sea level, say that this line represents where the mountains have gone from below 1,000 feet, mean sea level, up through 1,000 feet and above. That's your 1,000-foot contour. And when the mountain keeps going up, you're up to 1,200 feet, 1,400 feet, and so on. And that's how you get this little bullseye around the peak of a mountain.
Kind of makes layered slices, right?
Kind of like layered slices. Nice way to look at that. And when you see the lines are closer together, you're going up more steeply. If the mountain rises more slowly, it takes you longer in horizontal space to go through those different vertical increments. So
that is really hard to visualize.
Right. Imagine you're looking at a 2D piece of paper, two-dimensional piece of paper, but you're trying to understand what the three-dimensional world looks like. Well, enter the augmented reality sandbox. Yes, what is that? It is right here. We have the sandbox with us today, Sandbox 2.0, portable version. Built up at University of Alaska Fairbanks. And we've got a couple of folks helping out today.
Let's see, Alana Valaji, and she's a mechanical engineering student from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. If you want to give us a thumbs up there, Alana, thanks for helping us out today. And Courtney Breest, she's the outreach coordinator from AKwx, also helping us out today. Thanks, Courtney.
And this tool here has a Microsoft Kinect to sense the level of sand in this sandbox. And then the Kinect feeds its information into a computer that then sends a signal to a projector to draw the appropriate topographic lines on this topography. The fun thing about this, as we can see here, is that the sandbox and its Kinect and its projector, they all work as a team. So here we've got a mountain in the middle of the sandbox. What if we took down the mountain to some degree? Watch as the the software responds and redraws the topography.
Kind of a caldera forming there.
There you go, yeah. And what's fun about the sandbox too is it knows that gravity flows downhill, and we've got some water that's actually down in the lowest elevations. And what's happening now is we're making it rain a little bit. We'll fill up rain into that elevated lake bed, that caldera, as you said. And so now water is pooled up there. And what if you gouged out an outlet channel?
Glacial dam release.
There you go. The water flows out. What we're seeing here is a tool that allows people to touch and connect, Microsoft Connect, RRR, to connect two-dimensional topographic maps like what we have here, these flat things on a piece of paper, to the real three-dimensional world. I think this sandbox's real particular application as a learning tool to young people is, what does a two-dimensional map mean when it's trying to represent the three-dimensional world? This sandbox is kind of both at once. It's actually three-dimensional, lumpy topography there, the sand, but it's got these lines drawn on the three-dimensional sand that would be on a two-dimensional piece of paper.
Wow, that is a huge leap from the learning that we experienced when we were younger to how children and even adults are visualizing in these new forms of technology. It allows that to kind of reshape their thinking and visualize this in a very useful and absolutely hands-on way. It's amazing.
It's a hands-on tool, and
it's hard for me to sit here and not go play with that.
Well, that's what happened at Dehne, up at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks, when the first model was being made, the prototype with plywood and such. We had professional adult professor types had heard about this, and they came by because they wanted to see how it worked. And everyone becomes that idealistic, wonder-filled youngster. And you just can't help but play with that, and to see how it reacts in time, and it's a dynamic learning tool. And it responds.
That's exactly the word.
And you wonder what applicabilities beyond a teaching tool for topography can it have? You can see how in Alaska we have inundation mapping is an issue. If you had water slosh inland, say in a coastal flooding event on the western coast of Alaska or the Arctic coast, you could see this. The concept is illustrated here as an introductory learning method. I think this is a potentially good outreach tool for all of us in Alaska.
Okay, so not only just a topographical sense, a mapping sense, maybe something that leads into understanding of how geographic information systems work with GIS, but also geology, if we wanted to get into kind of the formations and the bigger land masses and the representation of the 2D map. We could go into hydrology, which is very important in Alaska, of course. And even just understanding weather sense. Mounding up a big pile of sand could be that Arctic high pressure system sitting on top of Fairbanks, and the voids would be low pressure systems. This can go a lot of different directions.
Yes, exactly. It's not just landforms, but pressure has contours of high pressure and low pressure. And I wish I had had this kind of a learning tool when I was taking Meteorology 101 back 25 years ago.
Wow.
Would have been helpful, I think.
Probably would have gotten a better grade, yeah. Okay, thank you so much for coming by, Eric, and Alana and Courtney, thank you so much for your help there in the sandbox. We are going to play in the sandbox a little bit more coming up tomorrow on our next edition of Alaska Weather Facts. We hope you join us for that. In the meantime, make sure you go to alaska.edu/EPSCOR. That's alaska.edu. EPSCOR to learn more information about what we're doing with this augmented reality sandbox around Alaska. We'll see you next time on Alaska Weather Facts.
Sea ice analysis today showing really emptying out here in the Chukchi Sea up back to the northeast, and the shorefast ice here really dissipating, continuing to break off and move off the coast there, and that's going to continue over the well, at least through the weekend and the first of next week. This area trying to shift off to the west, continuing, so really just more of the same. So for the coastal forecast here, northwest 20 on the south coast, dropping back to 15 for Clarence Strait. Southerlies 15 through the inside waters, give or take in the direction there, pick up to 25 knots. So small craft advisories for northern Lynn Canal tomorrow afternoon. Light westerly breeze on the north coast. Then for Sunday, that stays pretty light west-southwest on the north side, dropping down to 15 knots on the south coast, right out of the west. Southeast 15, south-southeast 15. Got to get into northern Lynn Canal in the afternoon to pick up to 20 knots. For Prince William Sound, variable to west, variable to east at 10. Light variable winds here for all of Cook Inlet tomorrow. Seas 2 feet all the way down until you get to Kachemak Bay. Winds east 20, seas 5 feet. Small craft advisory, Shelikof Strait, as well as the Barren Islands for easterlies at 25 there, and then 15 to 20 knot winds, strongest on the western Arctic coast, or the western North Gulf Coast. Next day, south 15 in that area, 15 knots out of the East Prince William Sound. Still light 10 knot winds there, variable directions for Cook Inlet. South 25 for Shelikof Strait, southwest 20 east side of Kodiak. Bristol Bay, east 15, variable down the north side of the peninsula. Cape Sarachev here to Castle Cape, west 20 knots. Castle Cape to Sitkinak, east at 20 knots. And for Sunday, south 15, southwest 20 knots as you head up towards Sitkinak, south 15 on the north side of the peninsula, light westerlies for Bristol Bay. The Aleutians, Fox Islands, southwest 20 to 25 knots, west 25, small craft advisories with the central Aleutians, and under small crafts here for the western zones. Then those swing around to southwest 20 for the far western zone, increase 25, 30 knots here for both Adak and Atska, all the way eastward, then drop off around Alaska Island to 20 to 25. Southwest coast, southeast turning east, north of Nunivak Island, turning northeast, but all 15 knots there, St. Lawrence Island. 20 knotters there out in the north for St. Matthew Island. And east 15 for the Pervilos on Sunday, north 15 for St. Matthew Island. And light, really call it variable winds there all along the southwest coast, mostly west in toward Kuskokwim Bay, north 15, St. Lawrence Island. 25 to 30 knot winds on the east side, pick up 2 full gales here on the west side again tomorrow, falling back to 15 down toward the Bering Strait. Then these winds coming down to 30 knots, northeast 10 to 20 on the east side. Tonight, cold front there, a little cooler air north of the area, staying quite windy, maybe even adding some rain in with that moisture sliding northwest. A front increases the rain for Kodiak Island definitely tomorrow. Some of that starts slipping up to the Kenai Peninsula, showery for the Panhandle. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms, cooler in the interior, cooler yet in a pretty active band east-west right through this area, cooler north side.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.